Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football selections for Saturday, the 7th of December. Well, I'm going to be in a rush because the first race is something like 10:30. So let me get into it. So it's a very, very tricky day. That's not a get out clause, it is. I like the look of an awful lot of horses. It's either going to be disastrous or with a bit of luck, it could be a good day. I couldn't tell you which one, but to be fair, it's always going to be a little bit like that. So I've been absolutely robbed on some of the prices because I've waited for the extra, not the extra, the best odds guaranteed. But I've seen horses pretty much half in price just doing that. At this moment in time, I don't even know if Sandown's on. But I'm going to give you the selections and do with them what you wish. There is also a football bet. So I'm literally going to try and remember a little bit about the horse if I can, which I probably can't. But I'm going to go through them. The nap of the day, I will explain a little bit more because if I'm right with this horse and it wins or comes placed, I've unlocked the secret of this stable. So let me get into it. So the first bet is a 5 pence each way, lucky 63. So what I've done there, I've gone through the Weatherby card. So the first selection is Rumours Are Flying at 11-2 in the 10:35 at Weatherby. This horse is I think it's pretty much the best horse in the race. I believe it's a novice hurdle, but it's a pretty consistent horse, but it always seems to get beaten by one or two. It's a very poor race, and I think they mistook how decent of an official rating and how close it's been running to it. So it's been running consistent, but it was about I think it was eights or nines when I first saw it. It's now 11-2, but I've got best odds guaranteed. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think it's got a cracking chance, and it's trained by Pam Sly. It's not a good horse. It's just probably one of the very better ones in this race. The second selection is Sandscape at 6-1 in the 7 minutes past 11 race. 6-1 is an absolute rip-off. This horse, I think, was 11-1. I might be wrong, but it was my fancy to sneak a place. Well, 6-1, you'd expect a place, never mind sneak a place. So I think it's got a decent chance. Take a look at all these horses for yourselves. The third selection is one I really like the look of, but it comes with a caveat. It fell last time, but I watched the race. You need to go and watch the race because it was a better race than it runs in today. And that horse is called Ishmael. I've left the price in the 11:37 at Weatherby, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse was jumping extremely accurately on its chase debut. It was jumping really well. I think it got tired and it basically didn't lift its front legs up. It did fall heavily, but I was quite impressed by how it was jumping. The rider was really like when they see a stride from a long way out. Well, after the first fence, which it didn't blunder or anything, but after the first fence, the jockey then started asking it for a stride, and the horse picked up and pretty much jumped very well, I thought, apart from the fence when it just ploughed through it. This is a shocking race, in my opinion, and I think if this horse goes to the front, it could be hard to peg back. So obviously, you've always got the doubt about falling heavily last time. It might refuse at the first fence. We don't know, do we? But it was actually, I think it was course and distance as well. Same jockey on board, Lee Edwards. I'm not a fan of Kevin Frost, but if the money's down, they've normally got a chance. But I do like the look of this horse. If it had faded pretty quickly, it would have been close to one of him in naps, just for saying that it jumped around well, but it faded quickly because it was unfit last time. But it didn't. It actually came down. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't going to win, but it was encouraging. The race it's running in is dreadful today, in my opinion. If this horse jumps round, in my opinion, I think it's got every chance of placing. I think it's about 9-1. It was 12s. No, not the first selection. The next selection is Classic Maestro, and this wasn't 72 originally. At 72 in the 12:48 at Weatherby. So this horse, I've got best odds guaranteed. So hopefully it drifts. This horse will go to the front and will be hard to peg back. I think at Weatherby it favours front runners, but if I'm being honest, it's wet and windy. People might think, "Oh yeah, Charlie, you've got an headwind though," but they've all got an headwind. Some might get cover for a short time, but you're not running on a straight track. It's an oval track or whatever shape it is. you are going to face a headwind at some point. And if you've got 10 lengths to make up, I would sooner be that horse that's in front on soft ground. So I like the look of this horse. It does normally lead, and I think it's got a cracking chance. So straight away, you've got two horses, Ishmael and Classic Maestro, that should be at the front, out of trouble. Because don't forget, with it being windy, you might get horses falling, swerving, all kinds of things. So let's see what happens. The next selection is Breeze of Wind in the 123 at Weatherby, paying 4 places instead of 3. This is a guaranteed stayer. It's won over further, or it's definitely run. I'm pretty sure it's won over further as well. I would like to see this horse, which it has done in the past, race prominently, but not being forced, as in like just in the first 4, because I think it will stay the majority of them. Outstay the majority of them. It's about 92, so I've left the price. I thought it stunk a bit, to be honest. I thought it should have been at least 6s, but yeah, I've left the price. Unfortunately, with not taking the prices, we haven't got a cash out. And this is an interesting selection because this is purely on breeding. So I've gone for Oberon Hill at 8-1 in the 158 at Weatherby. So this is more flatbred than anything, in my opinion, in this race. It's Jed O'Keefe, which is a multi-purpose trainer who trains just as well on the flat and over jumps. But this isn't over jumps, this is national flat. So this has got, as I said, it was by a miler. The problem is, I'm actually concerned whether it gets the trip. So, yeah, I think they'll walk round in this race, and I think it could be a 2 furlong sprint. If it is, we've got a right chance. The 2 horses with form in this race, if the unraced horses are no good, I think the raced horses should have it between them. But the 2 raced horses, the two horses that I ran before ran in the same race, as it was only beaten in a length and a quarter between the two. One's favourite and one's something like 8-1, I think it is, by a trainer called Tony Bulgin. Well, that could be interesting, that horse could, but I think the low level of form leaves horses, and the possible tactics in the race leaves the horses with form vulnerable. So that's I'm going to have to hurry up, otherwise it's going to be first race. What's it called? Yeah. So this bet is, I think it's a bet where, just give me a second, let me just spin through them. Yeah, so this is what I've gone for. I've gone for a couple of horses that I like the look of, and then some huge prices to go with them. So I've gone for a 6p each way, lucky 63. I'm not going to talk too much about Ishmael, but Ishmael at 17-2 in the 11:37 at Weatherby, 4 places instead of 3. The second selection is Zambezi Fix. I've left the price in the 225 at Sandown, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse is an absolute mudlark. If it's terrible conditions at Sandown, if it's still on, they're probably calling it off as I'm giving this bet out, but I can't know anything about that. The bet's on. So this horse, I think they are going to try and sneak a place with it for place prize money, because it's one of their better horses in this stable, this Bernard Llewellyn trained horse. And I think it will be held up. It absolutely loves dreadful ground and could sneak a place. You've got a number of horses where I think they're handicapped up to the best. It doesn't mean they can't improve further, but they've got to, in my opinion. This horse might come tailed off last, but it's outside of the lot, and I think it's got a chance. I've left the price because I think it should be bigger than 14s, as it was when they offered it me. The third selection is Bally Griffin Cottage. I've left the price in the 3:35 at Sandown, paying 4 places instead of 3. There are loads of front runners in this 3 mile. I think it's 4.5 furlong race. You've got the Bradstock horse. Her horses, the Bradstocks, always seem to go off miles in front when they run this race. And I think there's 3 other front runners. This horse fell last time, which isn't ideal, but it's the Skeltons. And I think you've seen Harry Skelton so many times just sit there at the back thinking like, this is a non-trier. And then he comes there absolutely pulling double. Well, it's a bit of a concern that it actually fell last time, but this is one of the very few horses that actually come from behind. There's about 2 or 3 in the race that come from behind, but there's too many in this race, in my opinion, that like to front run. And if they take each other on, they've got no chance. The fourth selection is Aroof at 66-1 in the 5:30 at Wolverhampton. So this horse progressed quite substantially at a low level from first run to second run. If it does the same again to the third run, you could be looking at 3rd or 4th place. 4th isn't good enough, but if they're trying, and I don't mind saying that, if they're trying for a place, This horse should be running on towards the finish. It ran on over 7 furlongs, but then it ran a decent race over 6 furlongs. I think this is 6 furlongs again. It's a risky proposition, obviously, or risky selection because it's 66 to 1. But I've got best odds guaranteed, and hopefully, I think there's 12 runners, maybe, yeah. So I think it's got a chance of a place. So the nap of the day is Mojo Maker. So I was concerned while I was studying, that this horse would plummet in price. It's gone from 16s to 22s while I was looking at it. So, right, this horse, Mojo Maker, 22 to 1 in the 7 o'clock at Wolverhampton. It's 9 runners, I think 3 places. So this horse has been ran down the field. It ran a decent race first time out, but was still comfortably beaten, but ran an okay racing post rating. I think it ran it above its handicap mark. It's dropped in the handicap, and it had a day out at Southwell where it was keen hold, kept in rear throughout. I think this horse. So David Loughnane, I think, trains this horse. Mark Loughnane won this race last year. David Loughnane has got this horse, Mojo Maker. I think this is very, very interesting. Even if it doesn't come in the first 3, well, in my opinion, it shouldn't be 22 to 1. I also fancy, just for the record, if everybody else does, there's a Richard Hannon trained horse, which is now only 10 to 1. That has also got a decent chance. But I think Mojo Maker, I don't think it would have liked the kickback last time, but I don't think it was ever involved last time at Southwell. So I think Mojo Maker has got every chance. The next selection, similar really, Golspie in the 7:30 at Wolverhampton, paying 4 places instead of 3. Can't remember this exactly, but it is an outsider, and I think it's got a decent chance. Take a look for yourself. Get rid of that. So this is the same bet. 20 pence each way, lucky 15, 50 pence each way, accumulators. So I think, yeah, so 3 of the more obvious ones, followed by the nap of the day. The nap of the day is a risky one. Yeah, it's not where I'm saying it's guaranteed to come place. What I'm saying is it's absolutely way too big for what it's shown, for what it could show. So I'm going to spin through this. 20 pence each way, look 15, 50p each way, accumulator. Ishmael, Ballygriffin Cottage, Arcadian Knights, Mojo Maker. Next bet. So this is. So I went through the Sandown card, and these are the horses that I picked. I literally went from first race to last race, adding horses as I like them. So 20 pence each way, lucky 15. Mavis Pike in the 12:40 at Sandown, paying 4 places instead of 3. That's interesting, that one is, because I think they've deliberately kept it at a trip that is way too short for it, on tracks that are too tight for it, and now they put a claimer on board, £7 claimer, and it's don't get me wrong, Sandown's not a massively tough track, but I think it does quite suit front runners or hardy front runners, and it's been stepped up in trip. So I think Mavis Pike has got a bit of a sneak. I fancied one horse similar to this a couple of weeks back, but it ran a stinker by Twist and Davis's as well. Second selection is Up for Parole in the 1:15 at Sandown. So this horse, I do believe, there's a lot in the race that have got chase form. This horse is an out-and-out hurdler. They keep messing around with the entire race card. The entire race, horses in this race are mixing it between hurdles and chasers. I don't like that, especially when it's over hurdles. I don't mind so much if it's a chase and they've been running over hurdles and mixing it up. But when they're all reverting back to hurdles, I think they can be tapped for a bit of toe. This horse is a pretty much an out-and-out hurdler. It hasn't ran so far this season, but Jamie Snowden's not doing bad, and I think he's a decent trainer. Third selection is Zambezi Fix. I've mentioned that already. Could sneak a place. Ballygriffin Cottage, I've told you about that one. It'll be held up and come with a late run. Whew, I'm a bit worn out here. What's this one? There's too many bets, Charlie. Right, this one is 17 pence each way, look 15. So this one is, tell you what I've gone for here. I've gone for 2 trainer doubles. So it's a 17 pence each way, look 15, and a 37 pence each way fourfold. That was just to knock it down to a tenner, ready for the football bet. So these 4 horses, I've gone for. Oberon Hill is Jed O'Keefe. Something at 3-1 in the 6 o'clock at Wolverhampton is also Jed O'Keefe, which I think is only sent 2 out. I think they've got every chance. Arcadian Knights is another one by one of the lock names. I'm not sure if it's the same one. So it's Arcadian Knights at 9-1 in the 6:30 at Wolverhampton, and Mojo Maker at 22-1 in the 7 o'clock at Wolverhampton. Right, you can forget this bit, I think. Oh no, you can't. It's a football bet. Don't go. Everybody's going there. So it's a £7 over 2.5 goal treble and a £3 over 3.5 goal treble. The angle is I've gone for difficult places to go, but the better team is away. So I've gone for so it's a £7 over 2.5 goals treble and a £3 over 3.5 goals treble. Crystal Palace versus Man City. I'd actually fancy Crystal Palace with a couple of goals start. I don't know what price that is. QPR versus Norwich. Norwich scoring for fun. QPR, funny place to go. Barrow versus MK Dons. MK Dons always seem to concede first and end up scoring a few. Barrow, very difficult place to go, middle of nowhere. So also another bet I had was this last night, but forget this. I'm not even interested. I'd as soon as them give me money back because I put it on last night, forgetting that there were that Aintree there were question marks. So basically, I went for Edwardstone. Did I fancy it strongly? Not really. With 8 runners, I thought it got a bit of a sniff. That was it. So no confidence whatsoever behind. So ignore Edwardstone. It's not really. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I've got another help. Where is it? So this is where I went from beginning to end of the Wolverhampton card. So I've given you loads of selections. You decide what you want to do with them. So it's a 5p each way. Lucky 63. First selection is Rye at 14-1 in the 5 o'clock at Wolverhampton. 3 fancied horses. If one of them runs under par, this one could sneak the place. Second selection is Aroof again at 66-1 in the 5:30 at Wolverhampton. Third selection is Arcadian Knights. I've already mentioned that already. Mojo Maker 22-1 again. Golspie. So the only horse new to add to that is Port Noir. So Golspie in the 7:30 at Wolves and Port Noir in the 8:30 at Wolves. Port Noir has got a handy low draw this time. And I think it's got every chance. So those are all the selections. It's nearly time for the first race at Wetherby. So please give me a like if you stay till this far. So I wish you the very best of luck. Charlie Winters with about 300 selections, over and out. Cheers, mate.